Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Close Show. As always, I'm Scott Carson. You're jacked up on crack. Host, I'm joking. Crack kills, speed kills. But anyway, excited to be here. My energy is always excited to host this show every morning or every afternoon when we have guests on. And I'm extremely excited to share this guest this morning on this episode. This is episode, I think, 351. Of the Note Closer Show. We've had a lot of guests, a lot of different discussions, but this person, before I bring them on, has done just a tremendous job over the last 12 months and was actually the winner of the Most Improved Note Investor of the Year. Won the award at our most recent Note Mastermind. So I want you guys all, if you're listening at home or listening to the radio, listening to iTunes or watching this on Facebook, let's give a big warm welcome to our friend and our Note family member, Miss Laura Blunk there. Good morning, Laura. Sorry, I can't hear the applause is drawn. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great.
Good stuff. So I got some people on here, but get some comments. People are really excited to hear about your story and some of the great things you're doing out here. Now, Laura, for those that don't know you out there, beyond our warm Note family, Note Mastermind, why don't you take a second to share a little bit of who you are and kind of your background in real estate?
I run a small company called Silver Hammer Investments. We were a wholesale and fix and flip company for 9.5 years in Austin, Texas. And then I ran into Scott Carson, and it was like coming home. It was really was the place to be, and it's so much easier and so much nicer. My dad was in real estate. He was a property, I guess that he was a property developer outside on the East Coast, outside Washington, D.C. So I kind of grew up, he and his partner bought land all over Maryland and Virginia, and this was pre-computer. So my job from about age 14 was to go out to the mailbox and collect the checks and bring them back in and do the calculations in the accounting book and handwrite out receipts and send them out every month. So I guess I've been in real estate since like dinosaurs roamed the earth. And when Scott started talking about notes, it was like, I know this. I've done this. So that's kind of where we landed.
Right. And so you guys, actually, I think we got connected through Clever Investor, actually. Cody Sperber was it back in the day. You were a student of his, and I was on. He had me come on and do a couple hours of a webinar Zoom training or something like that with a group of his students that wanted to do notes. You're part of that, and a few other people. And you came to workshop, and then you came to the mastermind. And you and Julian. I don't know if Julian's right there. Wants to stick his head in and say hi.
We'll be getting coffee in a minute, I'm sure.
Okay, all right. You guys came to the mastermind, the fast track, and then you bought a couple notes, right?
Yeah, we bought 2 notes right away. And those are about to wrap up, actually. We just went through a foreclosure auction on one, and we got it back. So now it's on the market. And the other one is we still have to go through the foreclosure auction. But okay, fine, whatever. And
you guys used your own funds to take those down, kind of help.
Yeah, we actually did everything you told us not to do. We immediately took some money out of savings and bought it with our own money. Just because that was one of the mindsets I had to get over was, how do you go out and ask for somebody else's money to invest if you haven't done it yourself? So I wanted to go through the process myself. And then after that, we kind of froze up, and I wasn't sure how to deal with management and servicing. And so we kind of froze for a little while, but then you were nice enough to hit me upside the head with a brick, and it seemed to have worked.
Well, you went through a thing that I think a lot of people go through is they get excited about it. They take it down. I know that you guys didn't say, hey, we're going to fund it with our own funds, and then we're going to refinance our money out with other people's money, right?
Yep. Because
I remember that conversation actually in Austin here. I remember it actually, the fast track. I was like, okay, let's get you marketing. And you are you're online, you're doing stuff online, stuff like that. You're well connected here. You're going to meetup groups. You're going to networking events here locally. You just had a little bit of a mind block. You just couldn't kind of push through that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did, really. I can put stuff out online. I had some guy call me the other day and said he really liked my branding, and I didn't realize I'd gotten far enough to be branded yet. So I guess it's working. But yeah, and there was a bit of a mind block that we had to push through, but it just seeing how it's done and watching everybody else do it and listening to you say, you know, just do it. It was like, all right, fine. All right. Because I'm sort of one of those people that will jump off the cliff and just assume the parachute will show up on the way down. So, so we did.
Cool.
We did.
Yeah, I remember you're like, hey, you gave me a phone call. All right, Scott, I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm really wanting to put some things into place. You came by the office. We spent a little time working on an asset. And so then I told you, what did I tell you to go do on that tape?
You said, just make offers. Just make offers. Just make offers. Just go make offers. But we spent more than a little time. I had scheduled, I thought we'd spend like half an hour, 45 minutes. I was there for 2.5 hours. You were really great.
Well, the thing is it was like, okay, here's a list of assets that you should have been getting. You hadn't reached out to. Here's a list of assets from an asset manager. Here, let's pull up a bunch of stuff in here. Let's dive into it. And so, whole philosophy. Let's just make a bulk offering. They're not all going to get accepted, and let's see what falls through. Right?
Yeah. And that really was a key, because the first two we made like 4 offers and we got 2 accepted. With this one, it's just like offer on everything. Just everything that looks decent and the numbers work, offer on it. And that's what we've been doing. Julian is the numbers guy. I'm the oh, that's so cute, and he's the one that goes, Mom, no. So he's the numbers guy, and it's like, okay, run the numbers on these, and which ones should we offer? And it's okay, that's what we do.
Because you guys were a little nervous when I said, okay, make an offer on these 20 assets, and you were like, what? How are we going to fund these, right?
Yeah, I was. It's like 20 assets. I mean, what if half of them get accepted? I don't have that. That was the mindset of, how do you write a contract on something and ask for somebody else's money? And it was a real hurdle for me, but I think we've managed to break through that.
Just a little bit. I think just a little bit. Because now, since you came by the office in April, how many notes have you bought so far?
Since April, we have 20 we had 2. So we have 18 in-house. We have 10 bids accepted that we're closing in the next like 2 weeks. If you have some money in the bank there, guys out there, that you want to JV partner with, we have 10. And we have 14 bids. 14 bids out.
That's awesome. So you've gone from 2 to 20 or almost 30 in the next week or 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Has it gotten a lot more fun?
It has. We got 7 tapes in last week, and I mean, a lot of them had 1 asset on them, and I got the dual cross collateralized thing. Who called me again this morning?
You got what Laura's talking about is about, I've gotten phone calls from about 6 or 7 of my students like, hey, I got this weird asset. But I'm like, yeah, don't chase the weird asset. It is it's a junk. It's cross collateralized between a property in Chicago and a property down in Florida too. First and second weird thing. But like, don't waste your time on it. Move on. Stick to your meat and potatoes kind of deals, right?
Yeah. So we get a lot, but it's like most of them are in mine.
So you said you're getting tapes in. Is this coming from you marketing out to asset managers on a regular basis? It
is. I did 2 things mainly that I saw really changed our business. One was I downloaded the, sorry, that's my fax. I downloaded my connections off of LinkedIn and started emailing them. And 2, you said something a couple of months back about, if you post something every day for 90 days, your business will change. So I posted something every day for, I think that lasted 3 weeks. And then I went to like 4 times a week. And then I went to like 3 times a week. And all of a sudden people, when I walk in a room, it's like, oh, I know you. And some guy called the other day and said, you do a really good job at branding. It's like, thank you. So yeah, getting the name out there, and I've started attending a lot more RIAs. We're going to the San Antonio Investor Expo on the 6th. So, yeah.
I just, it's good stuff because and it has the consistency in your marketing. Now let's talk about that, because I'm sure some people are like, well, what are you posting? I can't think of stuff on a daily basis to talk about.
I couldn't either. Really, I'm still going, what the heck am I going to post? Once in a while, I'll fall back on that national calendar. It's National Vanilla Day, or it's, blah, blah, blah. What did I post the other day? It's the equinox. Sometimes I just post an asset. Sometimes I post articles off of DS News or something I've read. If you just kind of poke around a little bit, driving up to Dallas for the Mastermind, I was driving and I kept seeing billboards that I liked the slogan on or something. And I would tell Julie, quick, write that down. We could use that. Quick, write that down. So once you start thinking about posting things 3 or 4 times a week, then you start seeing stuff everywhere. It's like, oh, that would be good if we did this with it. So it's what is that old phrase? You get what you focus on. So you start focusing on marketing, all of a sudden you start thinking of marketing ideas.
It's music to my ears.
That's what listen to him.
Well, the thing is, I just simply regurgitate a lot of the things that I've seen from my mentors and stuff like that. And I had a short conversation with a couple of my mentors via Facebook yesterday on some things and talking about marketing and things I really respect from them. And they were the things that I think I respect the most from them is just that it's consistency. And they're not always doing it themselves. They set up some RSS feeds, or they've got an assistant or two that's helping out with stuff like that. But it's not always them having to come up with the idea. You mentioned a couple really great things that I want to reiterate is the day of the week or the day of the year. What day of the National Vanilla Day or Talk Like a Pirate Day. Arr, I saw that was a favorite amongst people. Arr, give me a higher return to walk the plank.
Well, ours was who's watching your treasure chest.
That's a good one. I like it. So, but that's the thing is it's just doing it consistently. You're getting the word out. You're taking a little bit of time. You've really started to enjoy Canva, I believe, too, right?
Yeah, I can work Canva now.
And then also, I'm sorry, what?
You showed me how to do that.
We actually worked through a deal or two on one of our virtual note buying workshops on an asset or two initially. Yeah. But you've also started incorporating some video, like some Animoto stuff in your videos too.
I like Animoto. I'm still working out the bugs on how to work that, but I like it. And because you can show assets and and they have little, I don't know. I'm learning. Mm-hmm. You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
So let's come back to your assets. What's kind of your bread and butter when you're purchasing assets? What are you looking for? What areas are you like in? What's your kind of goals that way?
We're pretty standard. First position residential, under 200,000, over about 30,000. We do CFDs as well as notes. We really like Ohio. I like Indiana. I like Southern Illinois. I like Michigan. Those have been our best areas so far. So and Franco Borelli's answer has been very nice and answered lots of questions for me since he's right there. So that helps to have somebody who knows like in the area.
And you got a chance to meet him at the Mastermind too, besides just talking on the phone.
I did. He's very nice. He's very nice.
Now, you're buying some stuff, and you're using, who's your servicer you're using?
We're using Madison Management.
Okay. And are you using anybody else like for initial borrower reach out? Or are you just relying on Madison to do the borrower reach out? What's been kind of your success in the right party contact aspect? So
far, we've just been relying on Madison. I'm thinking that maybe I'll take, because they're really busy, I'm thinking that maybe I'll take some pressure off of them and have somebody else do right party contact just to begin with, and then let them follow up on it. Particularly a few of these, like 4 of these that we have accepted are going to be foreclosures. It just looks like that's what's going to happen. So I'd like to work that as quickly as possible. And if we can work around that.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to bring something. You said you've gone out to more networking events and people have recognized you. Were you friends with these people on Facebook beforehand, or just in part of different groups, or how's that worked out?
Either part of a group or had been friends with them on Facebook. I'm just old enough. mean, I'm 59 years old, so it's weird for me to walk into a room and have people say, "Hey, I know you." It's like, really? But it works. You get your face and your logo and out there, and people pay attention. So
now, what's been your this is a big question for you, and you may not know this off the bat. I should have prepped you for this, but you've been emailing out to asset managers, right?
Yes.
How often are you doing that?
Every 2 weeks.
Okay. And do you know what your average open rates are?
I have 2 lists. I have one just asset managers from Facebook, which gets a lower open rate. We have about 10 to 15% on that one. But the ones that I directed strictly to the asset managers in Ohio and Illinois, and those direct areas, we get about a 22% open rate. If you add that we send out on Tuesday morning and resend on Thursday, the total is about 22%.
That's pretty good. 20+% in open rates. That's really good.
Well, we haven't got any tapes from them yet, but they're opening. They're looking. They know who I am, so okay.
Right. Well, you said earlier you've got some tapes coming from your emails out to asset managers. Has that just been the bigger list instead of the smaller lists?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's good. But it's consistent. You've been doing it consistently since April or May, or how's that? We've
been doing this for asset managers for 4 months.
4 months. Okay.
So that's 8 emails they've gotten from me.
Cool. Steph Goodman says, good morning. She goes, I love that one. About that. And then she said something here. She wrote a paragraph. Laura, Laura, that's exactly what happens to me quite often. People know me from social media and we haven't yet met in person. It's sweet, but it throws me off sometimes when I can't place a person because we're on opposite sides of the country. LOL. Yeah, exactly. Now, you're raising capital, and is it a lot of people using their self-directed IRAs to fund stuff?
So far, yeah, they're self-directed IRAs. One guy used a 401k, and one guy just wrote a check. So, you sure you don't want to? But okay,
they wrote a check directly to you. They just wired directly to you.
They wired it.
Okay, all right. Let's be careful there.
But I mean, it didn't come from a fund of kind. So.
Now, what has been? Do you the mind block is gone? Would you say it's flushed down the toilet?
Yeah, pretty much.
As far as raising capital, and I think Eric Hyde, I saw him make a comment on here earlier. It's gotten a lot easier for you now that you've actually started taking action and doing some of the things that we teach. Correct?
Absolutely. I was thinking last night because of Note Night in America, we reworked our elevator speech and starting to go to just investor things and are you a flipper? No, we're in notes. We raise money for real estate projects from private investors. Yeah.
So now you've got a couple case studies you've worked through. You want to work through talk about some of those numbers there for you? Let's just share the first one and we'll go from there. And if you're watching this live on Facebook, feel free to ask questions. We'll make sure and try to answer those in the comments there below. If you're listening on iTunes or Stitcher or Apple Podcasts and those platforms, you can always drop us an email directly, and we'll be glad to answer those as well for you guys out there. Just don't want you thinking that we aren't there to answer questions. We are always here to answer questions, so you can always reach me at scott@weclosenotes.com. But Laura, let's talk about the first asset you've got.
That would be Anna, Illinois.
Okay.
That one we just went through the foreclosure auction, and we got it back, and it's now on the market. It's a nice little 2-1. That one, we actually are probably going to lose a little money on. We paid too much for it. This was a learning experience, and I knew that was going to happen, so I went into it with my eyes open. We're not going to lose a lot, but we'll probably sell it for what we paid for it. So our loss is in management fees and having somebody come cut the grass and clean out the house and that kind of thing.
Okay, this was one of the first ones that you took down.
It was one of the original first ones that we took down with our own money.
Cool.
And we did get a partial investor on that one, but he will be taken care of for not a problem. He will be taken care of, and he will get his return and his ROI on that, that's covered. But it was a bit of a learning curve for us.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we did everything you told us not to.
Well, but you did something. Let's be honest with everybody here. Let's make this a learning aspect of things. A lot of people use their own funds.
Yep.
To buy assets, and that was kind of the mind block. You weren't making a lot of offers because you didn't have any other extra capital. Most of your capital was tied on these two assets, right?
Yep.
And we discussed, okay, why don't you offer up to Arbitrage, bring on an investor to help refinance a chunk of your money out, offer them a flat return. That's what you did, though, correct?
Yes.
Now, you're going to lose a little bit on your part on that for servicing costs, carrying costs along the way, but investors going to make a good return. There weren't, what are they in at 50 cents of the investment or something like that?
They're what?
They were into for just a chunk of the investment, not the full amount, right? Just
about a third. So they'll get their investment back plus the 20% that we, I think, I can't remember the interest rate, but they're covered. We'll lose a little bit of money, but I don't really consider it losing money because we learned a lot on this. We learned about servicing. We learned how to get into the Madison portal, how to decipher their shorthand, how things worked. We learned to go through a collateral. We learned a ton. So I don't really consider that a loss.
Well, you learned a ton because it was your assets, different than coming in and looking at a collateral file here in the office with me or looking at something online. You actually got your hands dirty.
We did.
And figure this out. So let's talk about the second asset. Let's talk about the second deal there that you want to share.
Oh, we've had some fun in the last month. We bought one in Dayton, Ohio. That's really nice. It's in the historical district. So, I mean, if I lived up there, I would be drooling all over to redo that house myself. So it's really good. We don't live there. And we offered her deed in lieu. I said, look, if you could just sign this, we'll all be good, and then you don't have this on your credit. She said, I agreed to do a deed in lieu with the last servicer, and they never sent me anything. So I was like, how do you not do that? So we sent her a deed in lieu. She signed it. We're all good. It's going on the market. It's a nice little 2-story in Dayton, Ohio. I got a letter from the Historical Society people that wanted me to know that any external changes needed to be approved by the historical. Like, I grew up in a house like that. I remember it. It's funny.
So let's talk about the numbers on that one. What's the value of that property?
The value of the property for our sale purposes is $30,000.
Okay. And what did they owe on the property? Remember?
They owed, I think, 38 or 39.
Okay. And you want to share what you paid for it?
You paid $7,000.
Yeah. And it was occupied at the time. So has she made any payments on the payment streams when you were looking at buying it?
Well, she had, excuse me, she hadn't made any payments on the payment stream, but she was still living there. And she knew she couldn't afford it, and they were in the process of moving out. And like I said, they had offered her a deed in lieu, and she said, okay, fine, send it over and I'll sign it. So there was a bit of a short delay in that we had to find her now because she wasn't living there anymore. And then we had to get the house closed up, and fortunately we winterized it, but we didn't really have to because it was the summer. But when we finally got a hold of her, it was like, well, yeah, send it. The last people didn't. So we sent that over and it's signed, and I've got a realtor over there. She put a lockbox on it, and we're going to put it up for sale. And so, it's going to be a good return, but it was just funny that, I've already agreed to this.
That's a good thing. And when did you purchase this note?
This is one of the ones we purchased in April.
Okay. So you're basically into it for about 6 months then. And sell it at 30, and you paid $7. What are you into it? Legal for a couple grand?
Yeah.
With Franco?
Try that again.
I'm sorry, you're into it with a couple grand with Franco Burrell? Okay.
No, with Madison for that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Madison and Deeblo. Yeah, exactly. My apology. So that's good. That'll be a nice 200% return on your deal there. You fund your own funds on that one, or you have a JV partner?
I had a JV partner on that one.
They're pretty stoked then, huh?
I think so.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, on the notes that you're buying, have you gotten to talk with any of the borrowers and stuff like that, trying to get them reperforming on some of the 14 that you bought?
We do. We have, excuse me. We have a couple that are reperforming. We had one, again, this has been a heck of a month. We had one and we negotiated and she started repaying. And then I got a call from the fire department that said, there's police and fire at this asset right now at your house. And I went, what? I'm just the bank. So I can't get a report from the police or the fire department. I have to submit it in writing. So it's still, I submitted it and it's still on the way. We do have force-placed insurance on everything. So that's right. I don't think she had renter's insurance on this one because it was a CFD. Mm-hmm. But we're covered. And we're trying to get in touch with her. We've been missing her. I mean, Madison called and left a message and she called back and left a message. But to see how bad the damage is and if she wants to stay and that kind of thing. But she'd already started reperforming. She'd already made 2 payments. And then this happened. So I called the fire department right away. And I said, look, I'm just the bank. I got a call from Neighborhood Watch, which is really cool. And can you tell me what's going on? And she says, well, I really don't have a lot of information. I said, well, can you tell me if it's a total loss or if there were any people in the house? And she looked up and she said, well, no, there was no EMS. So there's no people in the house and it isn't a total loss. So that's all I know until I get the reports back.
Right.
But, that's a shame because she'd already made 2 payments on time. So that's kind of sad, but we don't know about that one.
Yeah, but the insurance will kick in and make you.
The insurance will kick in and we're good.
Exactly. What are your goals? Your goal is to hit 50 notes by the end of the year. Is that correct?
50 notes by the end of the year. Not including any that we've passed on to other people.
Not because you've wholesaled some. Is that correct?
No, I haven't wholesaled any. I referred on. So, but because it was a large tape and we didn't have the purse strings.
I know what you're talking about. Yes. That's in the process. That went in the process. We'll talk about that at a later date.
That's just Benny's over here. We want just the 50 that we do. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing that I think people don't realize is you can go from 0 to 50 relatively quick. Correct?
You can. I'm surprised at how far along we are.
Why? I knew you were capable of it. Now, is Julian, I'm sorry, not Julian. Julian, has he kind of had a mind block release as well?
I don't think he ever had a mind block. He's a numbers guy. He was working for George Roddy out of Dallas doing foreclosure appraisals and evaluations and taking pictures and stuff, like crawling through nasty foreclosures. Oh my God. For about 3 years. So he had a real good idea of the value of a property and how to evaluate the neighborhood and that kind of thing. And when this came along, he just seemed logical to him. So he's a real numbers guy. He likes a spreadsheet and he can go through it. He can go through a tape in like 20 minutes. Boom. Just like that.
Well, and that's one thing. I mean, I don't want people thinking that that's all the due diligence that you guys do. You guys do some upfront due diligence.
We do.
Identify assets. You make some offers. And then when they counter back, that's when you do a deep dive, right?
Yeah. We do a little bit of our own. And then we've been starting to use Dickie Baldwin to do our initial stuff. And then after that, he's got more in-depth stuff that he can do for us, so that's good too. And No Pros, we've done that too. So
just putting the tools at work.
Yeah, but mostly we just do initial and then we just make offers. Mm-hmm. It's like if it turns out bad, we can pull it later. Just these look good, these don't. Just offer on all of these.
And then once you get to see what's accepted or what's still available and stuff like that, let's talk a little bit more of your deep dive after you get the counters back. We want to walk through what you guys are doing then?
Once we get the numbers back, then we start. We get an actual. We would get an actual CMA. We get somebody out there on site that will get out of the car and take pictures and look around the neighborhood and look around the house. And
what? You mean you're just not going off of Zillow?
And Trulia, they're the same now. Yeah, no. And that's really nice. We've had some that we've had to pull the guy, you know, because the pictures came back and it was falling down. And we've had some that didn't look great online, but he went out there and he said, well, I mean, they built a brand new porch and the house has been painted and there's a new roof. And it's like, shoot, good. Okay. So it's nice to see that some people are, I mean, really taking care of them, and it's a surprise, and they really are worth what we think they are.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. Is that especially, and I'm sure some of these are CFDs where people have bought the house, you know, basically like owner financing, and then they're actually doing the work, the pride of ownership.
Yep.
To take care of the property, to build it up and stuff like that. Yeah, we've seen, especially when we're driving around in Michigan and Ohio the last couple months, seen a tremendous amount of pride of ownership. You know, assets where Steph wanted to get out of the car to go take a photo of the flowers and stuff like that. What advice would you give somebody who is coming from the wholesale and the fix and flip side about note investing, Laura?
That was another hurdle to get over, because coming from wholesaling and coming from fix and flipping, ARV is king. You know, what can I sell it for in the end? ARV is king. And really, with notes, it isn't about, you know, after you fix it up, unless you're going after foreclosures for that purpose. So it was hard for me to get from ARV and what the rest of the neighborhood is actually selling for to know what is it worth now. And I don't know why that was hard, because that's what you buy it for. So, I mean, that's what you're going to sell it for if you end up taking it back. You can't sell it for ARV unless you fix it up. So that was a sticking point with me, but we really got it. And now when I get valuations back, I even discount that when I run our numbers. It's like, because you're going to take some off for realtor, you're going to take some off for closing costs, you're going to take some off for something. I don't know. So
that's good stuff. Now, you live just south of Austin in Wimberley, Texas, right?
I do, in fact.
Now, Austin's been a hot market. What advice would you give to people that live in a market like Austin, Texas, that are having a harder time finding like wholesale deals or fix and flip deals?
That's why we got out of wholesale and fix and flip, because now you can spend $500 and take a 2-day course and poof, you're an investor. It's like, yeah, no, really. And they're paying too much for stuff. We got out of it because our competition was paying way more than we were willing to pay. And I know they're not going to make any money on the back end. I know, or they're going to settle for, you know, we're going to make $4,000 on this asset after, you know, 3 months work. It's like, what is your time worth? No. So that's why, one of the reasons why we stepped into notes. So I don't know. The best success I had with, when I was doing wholesaling and fix and flipping was with direct mail. And I wrote a letter that highlighted the fact that we're not a nationwide chain. We're not, you know, dads buy houses coast to coast, blah, blah, blah. I highlighted that we're a small local group. We live in Austin. We work in Austin. We drive around Austin. And I'm doing this to support myself and to support my children. And so when they find out that you're a real person, that you live locally, that you know Austin, they tend to trust you more than if you're Southwest Houses or whatever. And because they just think you're, I don't know what they think about nationwide companies. But when I played the, you know, the Andy Griffith toe in the dirt kind of thing, it worked really well. I have people call me that say, you know, I have 6 of your postcards in my desk. I've been saving it up. So when you sound like a real person instead of a corporation, they trust you more.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Totally makes sense. That's good. That's good advice out there for you. What are the questions, comments you guys have for you? Let's see here. Steph's got another one. As busy as we are all out there in our day-to-day lives, if someone takes the time to put in flowers, I appreciate its pride of ownership. Yes. Especially flowers. Let's see here. Rudy Willis says, awesome success story. Thanks for sharing. It was good stuff there, Rudy. Yeah, exactly. What are your goals for 2019?
I've been thinking about that because it's coming up fast. And if we did 50 this year, you know, Julian and I are not, I don't really want to do 100 in a year. I just don't want to work that hard.
Sure.
So if we could do 50 or 60 again next year, maybe 70, but 60 or 70 in that neighborhood would be good. And I think if we can keep it at that level, then we'll both be happy. I understand that it's pretty easy to scale up, and if that's what you're looking for, that's great. But I just that's not my goal.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, 50 deals, that's 4+ a month, 1 a week, and we discussed that. Your numbers, what you wanted to hit. You've got some monetary numbers and stuff like that you're wanting to take advantage of and bring in. And we worked through those numbers on that, and you're right on pace to hit those. You're plodding along. You've gone from I think I can, I know I can. A little no buyer that could.
I put that little train in the video the other day. It was like, I think I can. I think I can.
I saw that. Exactly. Which is good stuff. Any advice for those that are thinking about coming into the fast track or the mastermind that we offer up?
Oh, Scott's training is second to none. Because he's doing what he walks the walk and not just talks the talk. No, if you've already decided to go into notes, it's just a matter of finding a coach that works with your personality. And Scott works with our personality. He shoots from the hip. He doesn't take crap from anybody, and he doesn't tell you what you want to hear. He tells you what you need to hear. So, if you're going into any industry or making a business change, find a coach. And the fast track was great for us. Heck, I went through it twice. It opened up both of our eyes. And I need to repeat sometimes. The note camp is great. It's a little overwhelming sometimes, but the fact that you put it up there to be redone, I can go back and listen like once a week to a different lecture and renew that. Let's see, Mastermind. Mastermind is great just because it's a group of people that think like we do, that are trying to do the same things we are. And you can just throw ideas back and forth, or you could throw out a question and 5 or 6 people answer it. And it's like, that's tremendous. I love it. I love the Mastermind. Yeah,
the Mastermind's my favorite part of everything that we do, because it's great to see everybody coming together and friendships being made and people get to know each other and really have the ability, because you've leveraged the Mastermind to reach out to people in specific areas. I know you've reached out to Bill Griesmer on an asset in Columbus. He saved you from buying an asset that was trashed out, and vice versa. And that's the beautiful thing about a true mastermind, is people coming together to help each other from different sources, but also being there to help lend a hand, because we're all going to be in that position at some point. Hey, who do you know? Who do you use? And we all love good word of mouth advertising for people that we like to use, that actually do a great job and spread the word on what vendors are to use, and also the vendors and note sellers to avoid too. Yeah, and find out what other people's target and sweet spot is, because if you're going to get stuff across your desk that you don't want, but if you know somebody else, it's just good karma to pass it on. You don't even have to wholesale. I just send it on. Just because it's a nice thing to do, for crying out loud. Exactly. Steph says the Mastermind is my favorite part as well, and we have a well-curated note family. Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, hey, Laura, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you? You can call me. The number is 512-461-7868. Or you can email either Julian or myself at laura@shy-texas.com. And Julian is julian@shy-texas.com. And you have to put the dash in there, or we don't look like very nice people. Is she Texas? And the SHI stands for Silver Hammer Investments, everybody. Investments is our company. So it was, and Shy.com was taken for some reason, and what are you going to do? Yeah, well, you've overcome your shyness of talking and reaching out and making offers and really kicking butt and taking names. Is great to see. Yeah, so really, if you guys have money that you want to get working, I have 10 assets to find to JV this week. So, question for you on that before we wrap up. Are you emailing out to your database and raising capital that way on actual assets that you have, or marketing, or doing a little bit of both? Again, twice a month. I don't want people to be overwhelmed. I'm with email and stuff, but I email to our IRA investors. I email to all of the Austin investor group that I used to be part of with fix and flips and wholesales about every 2 weeks. And
Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, Laura, we're very proud of where you've come and where you're going. We expect big things out of you here the rest of the year and also in 2019.
You've been amazing help. I mean, obviously the education, but when I have a problem, I can text you and call you, and you've been great.
That's what we're doing. We're here to help. Huh?
You saved our bacon.
Save your bacon by helping you make some bacon, eh? All right. Go out and keep bringing home the bacon, all right? Good stuff. All right. Thanks, Laura, so much. Appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Note Closer Show. Like I said, I loved having Laura on because I think she's gone through some things a lot of people have gone through with mind blocks or, hey, I'm going to focus on it and prove concept before I start going out and talk and advertising my audience and doing some things like that. She's gone from 0 to 30 deals relatively quickly in the last 5 or 6 months. So stay tuned and keep an eye out for her. I guarantee you see some big things from her as well. So once again, everybody, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Note Closer Show. Please take a second or two if you get a chance and you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher or Apple Podcasts or anything. Take a second, go over, leave us a 5-star review. We'd appreciate it. And love to hear your feedback on the show as always. Otherwise, go out, make something happen, everybody. And we'll see you all at the top, everybody. Bye.